Welcome to This Is Matt. Oh, wow. I've got an upgrade today.
Excuse me.
Yes. So this is Elly Awesome, who is a very, very longtime friend of mine. We basically grew up doing YouTube together. You are now massively popular on TikTok and all kinds of places. And importantly, you're really making me jealous because you got to spend time with the Apple Vision Pro, and I want to know more. And now that I can talk about it with someone who's actually tried it.
I did.
There's a lot of thoughts because on the surface of it, $3,500 for 2 hours of battery life sounds like someone's taken some of that white stuff that's in the office that the presenters do before they walk out on the keynote. Before we talk about this, because I have so many thoughts, can you just give me what's your first impression of using it? Because you got the full demo experience, right?
I did. I think I may be one of the first Australians to have tried it, but also one of the first people in the world, so that's pretty insane. When I put it on and we got deep into the demo, I had this moment where I felt emotional, and that kind of blew my mind. I genuinely felt some kind of this is a historical moment. I can see the future of technology if this does actually catch on, which I think it can. You know, going from a Nokia 3310 to an iPhone, it was that kind of awe-inspiring moment where I was like, oh my gosh, the future is here. So
do you think this, okay, I guess first question about this, right? So with the Vision Pro, do you think it's unfair for me to call it a beta? Because it does feel like that's the kind of my gut on it.
It definitely feels like a first generation product that is made for developers and is ready to be in a testing phase. I don't think that Apple's expecting everyone to pick one up. I think they're paving a new way towards this kind of product.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be really interesting.
No one is under any illusions that this is going to be a big seller. I mean, they're only selling it in the US. It sounds like it's going to be really limited. I wouldn't be surprised if they're selling tens of thousands of these, not hundreds of thousands or millions, right? I think it's meant for two people. It's meant for really, really rich people who want to flex on their friends and developers. Yeah. There are a lot of really interesting decisions that Apple made with the Vision Pro. And now that I had some time to kind of really digest it, clearly it feels like they threw everything in the kitchen sink at this Gen 1 product, right? The fact that they've got the pass-through with the display on the outside is insane. Dave had an excellent point of you're paying who knows how many hundreds of dollars for a feature that you as the user will never see because it's purely for other people.
It's true.
Do you think that they almost went $2,000 for the first version? Do you think that maybe instead of launching at $3,500 and selling it to 17 people, they could have maybe cut it back a little bit and then add these features later?
Yeah, I think they could have definitely not had that fancy, shiny display on the front. Honestly, I even think they could have pulled back on the aluminium-y design that's AirPods Max and just made it more lightweight and more plasticky, but it's Apple. I think they wanted to just bring this awe-inspiring, beautifully made product, and it is beautiful.
Yeah.
But it was a little heavy.
I've heard that. To me, I understand that having that pass-through is important so that you can see someone's eyes, and that's why I think a lot of the demos they show oh, you're hanging out with your kids or whatever, which when they're showing hanging out oh, hey, blow out your candles, I'm I'm wearing the headset. Dad, take the headset off.
You know what it reminded me of though? When we first saw people filming with iPads. The tech community was up in arms. It was this thing where don't be caught filming with an iPad, and now how normal is it? I still think it looks kind of odd,
I agree. Not good.
It is so normal. And so I think maybe number one, Apple was trying to just have a point of difference.
Yeah.
For sure, because they're really introducing this to a market of people that they don't necessarily understand VR, but they're saying, buy this product, but actually you can only afford the one in 5 generations time. Yeah. But they're really just setting the stage for what this is. And yeah, I think you're right. It was less VR in the end of not as much gaming with Meta or HTC. It was more, you're in your own room, but you've got that spatial computing reality, right?
Most people have never tried a VR headset. Most people don't have the preconception of what an Oculus is or whatever, a Rift. So I think for Apple to approach it from a different perspective is smart. This is ultimately a product that in 2030 will be dope. It will be super, super exciting. But what about the comfort? So I know you mentioned it's a little heavy, but also what about the actual comfort of eye strain and did you get nauseous? I'm curious as far as how that went, because I know that was one of the big sort of focuses for Apple in the many, many years and billions of dollars they've spent to develop this thing.
That's a really good question. And firstly, I will say I do wear glasses. And so when I walked into the room wearing these,
I can't see anything.
Apple was actually offering me the ability to get my own custom Zeiss lenses for the product. They took them off me and they put it in this like machine. It was like an Apple employee that knew things about optometry, and then they went ahead and 15 minutes later I had my own custom lenses put into the headset for me. I also did a fit check by using the iPhone. I did like the Face ID style scan, and then I was good to go.
It was already ready.
Yeah, it's all good. You put it on. It's got the dial that you dial in to tighten it up, so it sort of cinches against the back of your head, and then you've got this sort of like watch band Velcro-y style strap on the top, and it was a pretty secure fit. I put it on, and I think what shocked me immediately is that it felt really realistic. So, you know, if you are to put on a VR headset, usually you get some scope of the world around you. So the cameras on the headset, you know, they're painting a scene of the room for you. And I think with cheaper headsets like the Meta Quest is the one I'm used to, that one, often you'll walk around the room with it on and you feel like you're going to bump into things because it's kind of warped. As soon as I put on, I just looked down at my hands and everything looked very, like just very HD, very crisp and very natural.
Could you detect any lag, any kind of like disconnect, or you just look down your hands and go, oh, I'm wearing glasses right now, and you don't realize it's going through the headset?
I will admit I was very like in awe and in the Apple hype.
Yeah,
so
of course,
I wonder if like my mood was skewed in the moment, but from just a very natural experience, not really having any expectations and just putting it on and making sure to lift up my hands, you know, and look around, it didn't feel like there was a lot of lag. So it's possible that there was slight.
A little bit, yeah.
But it wasn't something that I noticed. Now, I'm less on the side of very like severe with my judgment when it comes to tech working perfectly.
Yeah.
I will say that. But yeah, it felt
good.
It felt like they did a good job.
If you're throwing around a $3,500 price tag, like the expectation of Apple getting into this space is tremendous, right? Like they've got to get it right. And it sounds like they've got a lot of those core, important, fundamental things down that they can kind of build on.
Yeah, I mean, getting straight into the actual use of it, when the apps popped up, so cool. So you'd just be looking at it and you'd just go,
how was
and it
that?
would select, and that was cool.
So to me, that I was just doing it like watching the keynote, thinking about it. Like, is this natural? Does
no,
this feel
it
weird,
feels
or?
so natural. Okay,
Yeah?
so picture this, right? So you've got your apps on screen, and then you just like if I'm looking at you, and then I can double pinch, and then it opens up the window. But not only that, then you can literally look at the corner of the window of the application, and then pinch and move it. It just works instantly, fluidly. And suddenly you're like in the movies. The most interesting part is that I felt this sensation to sometimes kind of put my hands up and want to reach out and touch it and manipulate it because
work like that, right?
it did work similar to that. But the Apple people were like, you can just literally have your hands down by your sides and use it that way. And that freaked me out too because I thought that's in the peripheral, my peripheral vision. How are the cameras
like down here,
or anything, the sensors even picking this up? That was the first part of me feeling like this awe. I was like, oh my gosh, it's my iPhone posted up on the room in front of me.
So that's the thing why I have gone back and forth on this so much, because so much of this is so cool. And I don't want to discount in any way whatsoever the insane technology that has gone into this. I don't think it's unreasonable that statement they made about this is the most advanced piece of consumer tech ever. Completely buy it, right? But this just seems like the same way that the iPhone displaced all the PDAs. It's just like, it's like a different level. This is the first version of this product, right? And there's a lot of things I think they will change. I feel that external battery, I'm sure it's not too bad, but I think a lot of people look at that, especially with only 2 hours of battery life.
Yeah, see, I, again, am very optimistic and open-minded, and it's not being a fangirl because 2 hours, that's not even a full movie, and you wanted me to watch a movie on it, but do they? Like, what if you're just sitting down for an hour to get some work done?
So imagine, so obviously you're traveling right now. Imagine you're in the hotel room. You gotta get work done. You don't deal with your laptop or whatever. You just sit down, put the headset on in the hotel room, throw up your Final Cut over here, throw up your Safari over there. Like, to me, that is a huge sort of use case for it. Almost more so than a lot of the other ones that they were showing, where it's like, I'm not walking around in public with this thing on. I'll do it for video, whatever, but like that's not an actual normal thing I'm going to be doing. I don't think in the keynote whatsoever showed anyone using it outside.
I don't think it's made for outside.
It's good.
I really don't think it is. I think it is an alternate option to using a monitor or a computer. It's similar to an iPhone, it's similar to a Mac, and I think that is what it's made for. That's what made me think, oh my gosh, spatial computing. If anything, I think it's just gonna change the way we're like computing at home.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What I really want to see is as they develop this headset, what the version 2, really what the version 3 and 4 look like. Because My concern, and again, I'm coming at this from a more skeptical point of view, even though I think the tech is incredible, because I have so many questions. I'm curious how they trim this thing down and get it to an actual mass market. Because like realistically, sure, this can be for developers, and sure, this can be for very, very rich enthusiasts. Ultimately, there's only so many developers who are going to develop a headset that, develop apps for a headset that no one owns, right? Like they've got to actually get this thing out, and they've got to sort of, version 2, version 3's got to cut the price and stuff. Are you concerned at all that like they're gonna have to water this thing down? Because I guess I look at the amount of tech in here, and $3,500, while it's an insane price tag, I bet Apple aren't making money on that $3,500. Not to mention the billions, maybe tens of billions of dollars they've spent over the years developing it, right?
Yeah.
Do you see a way for them to like trim it down? Like maybe they make it out of plastic to
No,
kinda help
definitely.
lower the weight.
Plastic is number one. They should lower the weight. They need to lower the weight. So when I was wearing it, I was in complete awe and having the best time, but I definitely had like some pressure. Do we have to cut for that?
No, we don't. We're gonna continue.
Aaron, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Cheers.
How do you think that they can get this headset down to the mass market? Because obviously they need to do that. Developers are not going to make apps for a headset that 50 people own. Apple didn't spend billions, if not tens of billions of dollars developing this thing over the years just to sell it to a few people. Like they've got to get to a path where 3-5 years from now, this is something that the average person would at least entertain buying.
Yeah, I will say, as much as I was having the best time ever, I felt some sort of pressure on my forehead, and I spoke to other people that tried it, and they didn't have as many sort of issues or discomfort, but for me, it was kind of uncomfortable through the demo. I would love this to be decreased in weight, and I immediately when I saw it, even just in the release on stage, I was like, oh no, they have made it
Metal.
out of metal. What the heck are they doing?
Well, it's like AirPods Max, right? AirPods Max are great headphones.
They're beautiful.
But they're heavy.
I do think if they want it to be like picked up by the masses, it needs to be lighter.
Lighter, yeah.
Thinner would not go astray, but I think I see that for like 5 years time or something. I see that down the line as like the thin glasses kind of thing.
Do you think that we're going to basically every year when we see new iPhones and stuff come out, we're going to see the new version of the Vision, which is, it's a little bit lighter. No, it's a little bit more powerful.
That would be
we knocked off
interesting.
price. To me, it kind of seems like they're setting it up where they're like, we're going to see updates for Vision OS every year at WWDC. Like this is a new product category that's going to be supported just like everything else. Like, does that check out to you?
I feel like it should be an every 2-year release.
Fair,
I don't
fair,
see it being updated for a year or two after this initial launch. Yeah. But maybe they will.
And also, I will say, it's impressive this all runs on an M2. Like, this is the same chip they put in an iPad. Oh, and it can also process 73 gigabytes of data per second. Like, it's wild they put so much in here.
This is what really blew my mind, Austin. The 3D stuff. The stuff that everyone's making fun of because they're all just pointing at the guy filming his kids and laughing.
Yeah.
Right? That is weird, and I think we're going to see that in different versions in the future. Like, imagine when that's just glasses. Everyone's going to do that.
Everyone thought it was weird to walk around with AirPods. Now, every other person you see on the street has got a pair of AirPods.
See, that's why I try to be open-minded, but I like that we're having the back and forth here. But look, that's what blew my mind, dude. I sat at an NBA game courtside in this headset, and I was right behind the basket. They were bouncing the ball, and it looked spherical. The people had
spherical.
It looked spherical. The people looked real, and then they threw like Alicia Keys in front of me. I was starstruck because she was singing and looking into my freaking eyes. That was super weird. And then when they threw me to those different locations of a sporting match, I thought, whoa, like this feels like what we see in the movies where you can be in the room with someone else.
The idea of 3D has been made fun of for so long. Between the old red and blue glasses, between those weird active shutter things that were like popular in like the early 2010s, and then between the 3DS, like there's been so much bad 3D that I think a lot of people, myself included, bounce off of it hard. I don't want 3D, blah, 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 blah. If the headset can really bring 3D into the mainstream in a way where it's not just that you're experiencing, your monitor and all your stuff kind of floating, but you're actually capturing content and you're consuming content in 3D in a way that actually looks cool and interesting. That actually feels like a part of this that's not really being talked about enough of like, maybe Apple do have a big advantage when it comes to not only capturing, but also watching it back because they've got such great displays and everything like that.
I feel like that's just something that the announcement and the trailer weren't able to communicate to everyone that's just watching, right? Yeah, so for me, that I actually put it on and felt like I was in a different place. It was that with depth. And so there was another layer of realism that, again, I think does already exist in some products and such, but there was another layer of realism in this that I thought yeah, I want to do this again.
This feels like this is the actual, like, the real chapter 2 in VR. It's the real next level when it comes to including AR, including the ability to be, of course, fully untethered, short the battery in your pocket. I'll be walking around with AirPods in our ears, Vision Pros on our face, and no money in our wallets. Elly, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom here.
Wow,
Where
what
can
an
people
ending.
find you?
Elly Awesome or Elly Awesome Tech across all the things. I'm a TikToker and Instagrammer these days, even though I grew up on YouTube with you, but now I'm
You moved
short
on
form
to
and I
greener
will
pastures.
suck all the attention span out of your soul.
I'm
Cheers.
stuck on YouTube. I can never leave. Subscribe, ring-a-ling the ding-a-ling button. Go check Elly out. And until next time, Elly, can you play us out with a song?
I love this office, overclock media. I am singing now, and I thought I was meant to make a beat.